listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaff.
And me, Danny Denhard.
And Dan, today I think we both wanted to talk about a recent YouTube video that's been published by Hannah Fry, who certainly UK listeners will know as one of the voices of science on the BBC. Hannah does an awful lot of work on TV and also online now on YouTube and elsewhere, talking about all matters scientific. And what she's released a long format, 20-minute long video in the last week or so. And what she's done there is, with a couple of colleagues, they've basically taken the world of the AI agent and they've built an agent, and they've given it some agency, some authority, and asked it to go and do some tasks. And the results are interesting. The results, to say the least, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go. So that's the subject for today's pod.
Yeah, I found it particularly interesting with Cass, the AI agent that they created. I found it highly amusing that it went off and emailed. They learned throughout the process the number of things that the agent does or did off its own back, including emailing a local MP about a pothole that did or didn't exist, and used her name on the email, which is entertaining and something that a lot of us will sort of follow through and understand once we start really diving into agents and clause, etc. My favourite part was how they gave it different tasks to complete and the levels of completion. So that was one of my favourite experiences with the documentary. But I don't know how you found it. One of the questions I was going to talk to you around was, obviously she brought in a couple of people throughout the journey. One was a developer, essentially. And it just goes to show, or I would love your take on it, is the general public, although she obviously understands it and did a whole documentary series for the BBC on AI, it just goes to show that people still need developers and still need people who understand code to really get any benefit from it. What was your take, or how did you sort of see that part of it?
Yeah, the thing I liked about it was what she's done. A lot of people out there, when you see people talk about agents they've built, when you look at a place like LinkedIn, they've quite often built an agent to do some specific business task, and they say, comment below and we'll send you the agent. But what I thought that illustrated really well the whole video was, she did some things that anyone can relate to. So as you say, the first thing they asked it to do was to write to the local council and complain about a pothole in the road, and they just said, do this, and it went off and did it. It signed it from her, which she wasn't expecting. And then there were other tasks. They got it to design some mugs for sale, and then they got it to try and sell the mugs, and they got it to try and buy paper clips, try and find the cheapest price for a set of paper clips. So some bulk buy of paper clips, and it managed to save 50p on doing that. But the amount of AI use needed to do that was like $100 worth or something. So there was some, like you say, some amusing fallouts. You're absolutely right. I think she used a couple of friends who were more from the developer side of the world. I don't know how much that was just that they were trying to do it quickly, but I do get a sense that to do some of the complex things they did as quickly as they did, as you say, although we're all loving the idea of vibe coding, I think there is a level above that, which, especially with things like Openclaw, you need kind of developer help at the moment. And I thought it was a really great illustration of how this thing can go quite badly rogue. Even with the best intentions in the world, if you start to give it access to bank accounts, personal details, and the internet, then, that becomes a very interesting place to go. And it was a great illustration. So the thing I loved about it, it was like a real world illustration that anybody can understand. It's less than 20 minutes. And if you've got any slight interest in AI or questions about agency and how agents work, it's a really good watch.
Yeah, there's a couple of other bits I think are really important for the audience and for listeners before you potentially watch it, and it's interesting questions that came out of it. Essentially, who would be liable if something went wrong? So if they misbehave, so is it their agents, and how do you create liability around it, or who takes responsibility around it, which was really interesting. So obviously, if there's pets, there's pet owners. So do you treat it the same or not? Or employees, employers, and adults and children? There's not that sort of legal or social contract that was there, which is quite interesting. One of the people who were there was suggested they were about to create this new chaotic world. Intimate chaos, I think, was the language he used. And I do think there is, how do we set up the guardrails, and how do we as business owners and people really create that guardrail to not only support us, but if we do want to leverage the technology, how do we keep it on the straight and narrow? And then it just goes to show you, if you really do know how to engineer people or systems, there's going to be bad actors. And a number of the people who aren't 100% into AI, and I'm coming down the scale of being 100% pilled, is actually the engineering of it. So CAS was engineered in an environment where, knowing what questions to ask, it released every bit of private information that it shouldn't have done. It gave keys, passwords, etc. So we should call it out. Actually, it's a really interesting test, but there were a lot of flaws that many people will go through, and we've said in the agentic version and some of the real state of AI longer form pods we've done recently.
And I think you're right. There were different points where some of the results were comical, some of the results were very alarming, and there clearly was a warning sign there, as you say, about the way that bad actors might use this stuff. But I guess the real lesson is not that the agents are comical and useless. It's that, as we've talked about, governance really, really matters. And agentic AI just steps that up, puts it on steroids. AI governance really, really matters. So if you've got poor permission control, if you've got weak oversight, if you're trusting the systems to act independently too much, and I think there's a lot of that going on at the moment, Dan, as people play with agents, I think they are just trusting the thing will be all right. But the problems will show up quickly. And so it's not really about let the agent do what he wants. It's really saying, let's use agents, but let's be really, really clear about the boundaries, the supervision, are much clearer rules than most people are working with today. Let's test and test and test and make sure we've got that absolutely clear before we release it. Because, one of the things that Hannah's video shows is how quickly these things can go rogue and do things you do not expect with big consequences. So I think that's it's for me, it was a governance story. It was a question of, we're moving from what will it say to what can it do, but that just brings another level of governance needed.
There were many people who land with it. It's cool. It can do and open up a world of opportunity, like you said. I do think what it will provide is a wake-up call for many businesses who are rushing towards trying to scale everything and scale it to an extent where they haven't thought about A, the guardrails, but B, the quality control, and then C, actually the output of it. And as you'll see, if you do watch it or you don't watch it, spoiler is, doesn't sell mugs, and it can't complete the transactions for the paper clips because of a captcha code. So great for the captcha code people and technology, not so great for CAS and the experiment.
I guess the TLDR is, for me, it was good video. It's well worth watching, and it captures the tension at the heart of the AI agent world, which is AI agents feel like the future, and they're very, very exciting when they work, but then they quickly flip to be a huge liability the moment they don't work. And that's an important thing for us all to recognize and deal with as we start to roll this technology out.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll embed it in the newsletter so you can watch it from there, and it'll land in a supporting pod. So that'd be a great sort of exercise, and something I recommended to a previous client is to watch it with a team and just see the different reactions that the team have. So if you got 20 minutes and you want to watch it with your team, I highly recommend it.
Grab yourselves a cup of tea, grab yourself your team, and have a good look. Exactly. All right, Dan. Pleasure to see you, my friend, and I will see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you liked what you heard, please give us a rating and review in any of the podcast players. We have a supporting newsletter, which is aimoment.co.uk, that comes out on Mondays and Fridays with every pod, and we dive a little bit deeper. So please subscribe there. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.